Let's talk about one of the most frustrating and misunderstood parts of the home buying process, the appraisal. Whether you're buying or selling a home, the appraisal can make or break a deal. In this video, we're gonna pull back the magic curtain like the Wizard of Oz, and we're gonna go through how appraisers are chosen, how the whole process works, and how important it is that the appraiser works closely with the lender and especially the realtor and comps. Appraisals are supposed to be independent and objective, but a lot of times these appraisals can be inconsistent and reliable. This is why in certain transactions, a lot of lenders will sometimes even order 2 appraisals on the same transaction in case one of them comes in bad. However, if you do order 2 appraisals and one of them comes in lower than the other, because of the financial meltdown in 2008, lenders are more than likely gonna go with that lower appraised value, and this can cause your home buying process to all of a sudden go sideways. And in a competitive market, the appraisal is key to ensure that you get a good loan approval and a good appraised value. If you're a homeowner and you're thinking about selling your home, one of the ways you can get more of a competitive edge is to actually order a pre-appraisal. That way you order the appraisal on your own house from a third independent party to get a real value of what the appraiser thinks it's worth, which can be completely different than what the realtor thinks it's worth. You can use this pre-appraisal to supply to the buyer's agent and the buyer of the house, showing that you've already done your homework with the value. Then along with that, you can go one step further in strategy, and that buyer, when their personal independent appraiser comes out to appraise your house, you can also supply them with the independent appraisal that you've already done yourself, thereby helping you have a better outcome. While it's not guaranteed that the appraisal you already did on your home is going to override their opinion of value, but it is something that can definitely help you. Let's dispel a quick myth. Most people think that the buyer is going to pick the appraiser, but in reality, the lender is going to pick the appraiser, and even further, the lender goes to what's called an AMC. This AMC is a middleman that goes out and in theory is supposed to pick the best appraisal for your job. But unfortunately, these AMCs have a different business model. And a lot of times these AMCs simply pick who can do the appraisal at the quickest and the lowest cost to them. And the lowest cost to them doesn't always mean that you've hired the best appraisal for that house. So while this AMC system is designed supposedly to reduce biases, it often ends up sacrificing for quality, which is what you don't want when you're buying a home. So how do appraisers come up with a value on the home you're buying or selling? Now, while appraisals follow very strict guidelines, there's still a lot of room for subjectivity, and here's a few things that they evaluate that come into play. Living spaces are only heated areas in the house where the square footage counts where the HVAC goes. Therefore, garages are not counted as the living space. Also, they go into community and location. The neighborhood plays a huge role. Appraisers use what's called bracketing of comps, meaning they compare your home to at least one higher or lower value in that area. Typically, they use 7 comps on one appraisal to get your average of values. Along with that, with the location and with the square footage, what really matters is what have been the sales in the last 6 months. A lot of realtors forget this and will pull comps from 8, 10, 12 months ago for their value. This is incorrect. All the appraisers are going to do what homes have sold in the last 6 months that are the most comparable to your home that you're either selling or buying when they look to average the amount of value they're going to assign to your home. And one more thing that appraisers really look at are called adjustments. There can be adjustments for the direction that your house is facing. There can be adjustments for the location of the neighborhood. There can be adjustments for how there's no traffic going in and out of around your house. All these small adjustments go into a larger value of the house that most people don't think about, and realtors don't think about either when they're pricing the home, but it can make a big difference on the value of your appraisal. So the bottom line is this: everybody looks at it and goes, what's the cost per square foot? That's not always all the value that's given to your home, because there's lots of other variables that are added. So don't just focus on the price per square foot when buying or selling your home. So how do you work with the appraisal? Well, here's a key thing you have to remember, and a lot of realtors forget this, and you don't want it to happen to you. Appraisers are people too. You always want to be respectful, nice, and you want to inform them. You're not there to influence them. Another thing that you want to think about that may make it easier is when the appraiser comes to see your house, make a full list of all the renovations that you've done in the timeframes that they've been done and the costs that they've done, because you're looking to inform them, not influence them on the value. So what happens if you're buying or selling the house and the appraisal you did comes in low from the price that you negotiated for the sale of the house? Well, now it comes into a couple different ways that you guys can work on things. Number one, the seller can just simply reduce the price of the house to the appraised value. Number two, the buyer comes in and gaps the difference of the value of the appraisal. Example, the house was $500,000 and the home came in at $45,000. They gap it with $15,000. Or number three, we can do what's called a rebuttal. A rebuttal is where we go back to the appraiser, we get more comps, we get more adjustments, we submit them to the appraiser to see if they will adjust the value in case they made a mistake. Because do appraisers make mistakes? 100%, they're human too, which once again is why you should be nice to them when they're doing the appraisal. Just to be honest though, overall in most cases, it is very hard to change an appraised value, but it can be done. So don't give up hope if it happens to you. If you're doing a VA appraiser, you may get a low value for a Tidewater initiative. It's hard to battle those, but can you win them? Absolutely. On other loans for FHA and conventional, can you challenge the appraiser and win? Yes, that can be done too, but that takes a lot of teamwork with a very experienced realtor and an experienced lender, and the market also has to be working in your favor to challenge this. The last point of this section that's one of the most important is just because your appraisal came back and it made the value that you're purchasing the home for, it still has to go through what's called underwriting review. That's where an underwriter goes through every single detail on the appraisal and either agrees with the value was assigned or disagrees and actually lowers the value. If an underwriter lowers the value, that's when you have to go back to the other steps we mentioned again to try and raise that value, which is very hard to do if an underwriter does lower the value of an appraisal. So what happens if the appraisal comes in high? What do I mean by this? I mean, you're in a contract for $700,000 and the appraisal comes in at $750,000. Well, what this means to you, depending on if you're the buyer or the seller, if you're the seller and the appraisal came in 50 grand higher, it means your realtor mispriced that property and goofed up and you lost 50 grand. If you're the buyer and you made that additional money, it means you now just have built-in equity in the home that you're buying. It doesn't necessarily lower the loan to value ratio, just so you know. That means just because you had the built-in equity from a good appraisal, doesn't mean your mortgage insurance is going to be lower when you're first buying the home. It just means you automatically walked into equity instantaneously on buying of this property. So as a side note, if you're the buyer of a property and the value came in higher than the contract price, this is a pro tip. Please don't share that appraisal with the selling side because they will not negotiate any repairs for you because they now know that their realtor priced the home wrong and sold it to you for so cheap. So is the appraisal system broken? Well, there's a growing criticism that the system favors cash buyers and creates unnecessary friction for qualified buyers. When appraisals come in low, it turns out the wealthiest buyers are able to gap the appraisal or simply make it happen because they have cash, which means other people are disadvantaged. Many people in the industry believe because of the difference in values of cash versus not cash, that the appraisal system needs an overhaul and that we need to maybe do 2 or 3 appraisals in every transaction. I don't personally think this is worth it. I think if you actually buckle down and actually pay appraisers more and get better quality appraisals, you can use 1 appraisal. But until my strategy is implemented, you don't know what's going to happen. You may have 2 appraisals, you may have a low appraisal, but the fact of the matter is this: supply all the data that you can to the appraiser, be as nice as you can to the appraiser, and remember, they're human and therefore they're going to give you their subjective opinion, which sometimes is wrong and sometimes it has to be changed. So buying a home with the appraisal may seem like the black box on the airplane, but if your lender reads the appraisal and goes through all the data on it and explains to you, it actually reinforces the value you're paying for the house and whether it's a good deal buying the house, a stable time buying the house, and if it's really worth the price. So if you're in the negotiating part after the appraisal's already been done, you really want someone knowledgeable that can explain the appraisal because that's going to help you negotiate price reductions repairs, or other things that you may want when buying a home. If by any chance you're in escrow right now and you're watching this video and your lender didn't explain the appraiser or your realtor didn't explain the appraiser, call me. I'm happy to explain it with you because this is a business about information. And if you like the information I'm giving you with this video, please like and subscribe, and thank you for your time.